Hello, I'm Cheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York. Welcome to One to One. New York City has always been a place of possibilities, where people come to turn dreams into reality, whether in theater, music, business, literature, or journalism. But farming? In 2010, a group of intrepid New Yorkers, in search of fulfillment beyond their current occupations, created what has evolved into a rooftop farm comprising more than 2 acres on roofs in Queens and Brooklyn. The Brooklyn Grange is a profit-making venture that supplies fresh, organically grown produce, as well as honey and fresh eggs, to individuals and businesses throughout the city, proving that even in a city of tight spaces and tall buildings, one can operate a farm that earns money. Anastasia Plakias, vice president and founding partner of Brooklyn Grange, writes about how it all came about in The Farm on the Roof, what Brooklyn Grange taught us about entrepreneurship, community, and growing a sustainable business, has just been published by the Avery imprint of Penguin Random House. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
So tell me about this group of people who came together in 2009 to create Brooklyn Grange. Is it Brooklyn Grange or the Brooklyn Grange?
Brooklyn Grange.
Okay, to create Brooklyn Grange, and what motivated you to create it?
You know, we were all working on different urban agriculture projects, but really more at a hobby level than anything else. My partner Ben had started a proof of concept rooftop farm that was a bit smaller in size at 6,000 square feet, although Annie Novak still runs Eagle Street Rooftop Farm, which is what that site was called to this day, and it's flourishing in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. But Ben and myself, my partner Gwen Shantz, and the other co-founders of the farm, we really sought to establish something that could be scaled up, that could be replicated, and that was fiscally sustainable. And to do that, we needed, of course, scale.
You're inspired by the people who opened Roberta's restaurant in Brooklyn, right? 2
of the owners of Roberta's were 2 of our original partners in starting Brooklyn Grange. So they do join us from time to time as advisors, but of course they had their restaurant to focus on and to keep running. So so we had all of our early meetings there in these gardens that they built, and I actually helped them build on top of shipping containers in their backyard. But again, we were really looking at what we spent building these small gardens and how much value we'd actually harvested from them, and the numbers didn't quite make sense as a commercial venture.
But the impact of the Roberta's people, they built this restaurant in this sort of no man's land. Where was it? In Bushwick? Mm-hmm. And it became fabulously, before it became more trendy, and became fabulously successful. And so it was the idea of sort of taking on what seemed impossible to make work in an unusual place. And that was part of the inspiration that I gather the people at Roberta's restaurant had for you.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, Bushwick has long been a community of its own, but where they opened in Bushwick was a largely industrial area. There were not families living there. There was not a lot of residential housing. It was really, as you say, in no man's land. The community that they built in those early days at Roberta's, there was always something happening. There were always artists and random people who were coming there, doing things. Everybody was excited about what was happening in that backyard. And that was really, I think, what inspired us to do something similar.
And what was your basic goal? To build on the city's rooftops a farm that was large enough to turn a profit? Was that the idea?
Yeah, at its simplest, that was the idea. We really wanted to create what's known as a triple bottom line business. So a business that looks not only at the fiscal bottom line, not only is profitable, but also takes into account the other two Ps. This model is also known as the 3Ps model. So you're looking at profitability, you're also looking at the planet. What is your ecological impact? And of course, the people on that planet. So how are you really creating positive value for the community in which your business is operating?
And you're starting this is a startup right at the beginning of the recession, a really bad recession.
Yes, fundraising was an interesting and challenging endeavor at this point. It was 2009. People had really felt the effects of the recession for some time, and nobody was forthcoming with funds at first, especially for a project that was not a get-rich-quick kind of model. I mean, we were coming off of also the tech boom, which created this notion of, you make an app or something that sells millions of downloads, and then you sell the company at a huge profit.
Take the money and run, right?
Exactly, and that's not what we were setting out to do. We were setting out to operate a small business in the community, not exactly the investor's dream scenario, especially in that kind of economic climate.
So how did you raise the money? And originally, what was it, 130,000, 120,000?
200,000.
200,000 that
Yes.
you figured you need, okay.
Yeah, and originally we thought we would actually, I think the number you had in mind was what we were hoping to raise from one angel investor, somebody
Okay.
who saw our vision, loved it, and said, I'll come on board for that amount. And we realized that that was really unrealistic. So we were forced to be really flexible in how we raised funds. My partner, Ben Flanner, did a tremendous amount of literally running around with copies of our business plan, meeting with dozens of individuals in hopes to sell them on this idea to sell 1 or 2 shares. And that really is how we've raised our funds, between selling equity and personal loans to individuals. We actually, including ourselves, have 32 investors. And we've run 2 successful Kickstarter campaigns and just did a whole lot of grassroots fundraising through events and really creative ways.
The search for a location, that was pretty complicated. Tell me something about that.
Yes, it was dramatic. We originally were approached by a gentleman who had a building in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and we were all living in Brooklyn at the time, so we went ahead and incorporated short-sightedly under the name Brooklyn Grange. That gentleman in Brooklyn got cold feet at the last second and decided that he didn't want to farm on his roof. So we would literally go on Google and pull up maps of areas that we knew to have big, strong pre-war industrial buildings that we likely wouldn't have to structurally reinforce to bear the weight of the soil. And we would look on the satellite maps to see how unobstructed those roofs were. Are there a lot of mechanicals up there, or does that look like a nice, flat, uninterrupted plain for farming? And we would just show up oftentimes, knock on the door, ask if the owner was around to try and engage them in a conversation about farming their roofs.
Were you looking for a minimum amount of acreage at first?
That's right, yes. We really were hoping for 40,000 square feet. And the original site in Brooklyn was smaller than that. It was only 25,000 square feet. So we were, in retrospect, hindsight being 2020, it was not the worst thing in the world that we lost our original site. At the time, it felt like a bit of a catastrophe because we'd been fundraising, we'd incorporated, we had a Kickstarter campaign that was underway, and so we'd raised these funds and these hopes amongst the community, and we really didn't want to let folks down. So when we did find our flagship farm building in Long Island City, Queens, we were beside ourselves.
Okay.
It was a really exciting day. Of course, we'd gone and incorporated under the name Brooklyn Grange. So we were now opening a farm in the proud community of Queens with the name Brooklyn Grange. Not the best foot to get off on.
But stranger things have happened in New York. So what kind of building was it? What had been in it? What was in it?
Originally, it was the Standard Motor Products manufacturing plant, and they moved their manufacturing off-site but retained 2 of the 6 floors and sold the building to a couple of really forward-thinking gentlemen under the name Acumen Capital Partners. And they were tasked with filling up the other 4 floors of this building with, typically landlords today are looking for high density tenants, design firms, architects, folks who like that big open floor plan, loft style office that comes with an industrial building such as the Flagship Farm building, but who pay a little bit more than manufacturing tenants for that space. So they were looking to attract these types of businesses, and they very wisely saw in us an opportunity to gain visibility, to get that building in the public eye. And so it was a really wonderful fit for us and for them.
You started building your first farm in 2010. What was that experience like, the process of actually creating the green roof?
What a wonderful question. It was a magical time, and one that I don't think anyone who was there will ever forget, because it was a kind of chaos, but a controlled chaos. We'd planned that installation as much as possible. Of course, none of us were licensed green roof applicators. We'd not had experience doing this type of thing before. So there were a lot of challenges along the way. Wind would blow through and really make it difficult to lay down the green roof system, which of course is a series of layers of fabrics and plastic materials. It was very difficult to install that in the precise way that we'd planned.
And cutting it to fit around the things that were on the top of the roof.
That's exactly right. And it was a process of installing layers of green roof and then immediately weighing it down with the soil that we were craning up and moving across the farm in these buggies. So at times it felt a bit like a circus act, but the passion, the hard work, the excitement of everybody who was there, this sort of the single-mindedness of the way that we were working to get it done, it was a really, really exciting moment.
How much soil are we talking about, and how many pounds or tons of seed are we talking about for that roof?
The soil itself weighs at that site 1.2 million pounds.
Okay.
That is the saturated weight. We always calculate green roof soil weight as a saturated weight because, of course, water weighs quite a bit, and you will have water falling on that roof. So, of course, we had that farm, that building certified by a structural engineer to establish that it can take that much weight, always an essential part of building a green roof. But agricultural soil is a little bit different. It contains more organic matter, meaning it's going to be a little bit heavier. It's also going to be a little bit more nutrient dense to support the vegetables that we grow in it. And it's deeper than an extensive green roof that might just have a few
How
inches
deep is
of
the soil?
At our flagship farm, we have 8 to 10 inches. At our second farm in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, we have 10 to 12 inches.
Okay, that's a lot of soil.
It's quite a bit.
I would imagine that after creating, and how long did it take you to create the roof?
The flagship farm, we craned soil on 6 days over the course of 2 weeks.
Okay.
So it was a very quick process.
I would imagine after doing all of that actually planting the seeds was sort of a piece of cake.
Well, first you have to dig out all those walkways, and when you don't have equipment, when you don't have tractors and other traditional farming equipment, you're working by hand. So there is never a dull moment up on that farm. There's always work to be done, and it takes quite a bit of manpower to get it done.
We're going to take a short break, then we'll be back with more with Anastasia Plakius, author of The Farm on the Roof, after this message. Welcome back to One to One. I'm Cheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York, and I'm talking with Anastasia Plakius, Vice President and founding partner of Brooklyn Grange, and author of The Farm on the Roof, What Brooklyn Grange Taught Us About Entrepreneurship, Community, and Growing a Sustainable Business, which has just been published by the Avery imprint of Penguin Random House. You actually had to be quite strategic in your choice of crops. I mean, you had to compute the potential profitability of each crop. Tell me about making those calculations.
Yeah, it's such an important part of what we do. We really want to keep our produce as affordable as possible for the community. There's no point in doing all of this if nobody can afford to buy the produce, right? So in order to do that, we really are careful about what we plant. Something like a cabbage. Cabbage could spend a month in the greenhouse before you even transplant it out into the field, where it spends 2 months growing before you harvest it. And then you're looking at maybe, a small cabbage is worth what? $1.20? It's not keeping the lights on. Cabbage is not paying your rent. So we look for high yield, quick turnaround crops that grow well in limited soil depth, that can take the high winds up on the roof. So we're really talking mostly about salad greens, as well as tomatoes, peppers, herbs, and hardier greens like kale and Swiss chard. Everything else is a long tail. We grow it in smaller quantities for our CSA members or the folks who shop at our farm stands. But our wholesale crops are salad greens primarily, and we sell those to restaurants and small mom and pop grocers.
And what kind of products do you sell at your farm stands? What other kinds of?
Oh, that's the full rainbow of things that we like to take home and eat as well. Carrots, radishes, beautiful tiny eggplants, zucchini, cucumber, pretty much everything you can imagine except for things like celery, corn, things that really want to spread their roots.
Tell me about some of your battles with Mother Nature, and in particularly one, the mystery of the purple arugula was one, right?
That's right. One of the things that's tricky about a new growing method like rooftop farming is that you can't always phone a friend. We really, really rely on rural farmers who've been farming organically according to organic practices for generations to help guide us and give us advice. But occasionally you're stumped, and we found that we had purple arugula growing on the farm, and we really went back and forth. Is it a potassium deficiency? Is it a nitrogen deficiency? What is making this arugula tinged with purple? The leaves were a bit stunted. It didn't taste quite right. It was clearly not happy. And what we learned about our farm is that the very same quality that makes it appropriate for a rooftop, the soil drains well, right? Which is important. You don't want your roof filling up like a bathtub every time it rains. It drains well, but with that, it also dries out quite a bit. And that can make it a challenge to really keep that soil dense with nutrients.
It's really a potassium deficiency with the arugula, right?
It's still a bit of a mystery because of the stunted leaves and the way that nutrients distribute amongst them. I don't think we'll ever be 100% sure, but we have been able to keep our soil more nutrient dense by changing the ways that we irrigate our farm. And actually, for those who are looking for more of a growing guide than our story of starting a small business, our colleague Annie Novak just came out with a wonderful book about growing on rooftops that I think is a great companion to The Farm on the Roof, called The Rooftop Growing Guide. And I encourage anyone, if you're thinking of putting some planters on your terrace or doing a full-blown rooftop garden, to check that book out as well.
Okay. Now, Ben was the only paid staffer at the first farm. The rest of you were not only farming, but you also were holding down paying jobs, right?
That's right. Yes, our first season, I was in my 20s and had a lot more energy. I can't imagine doing this now, but we would actually farm in the morning. I'd get there bright and early and farm alongside Ben and Gwen, and then pick up harvest a full case or two of vegetables, shower using the hose, and then head into work. Bring those vegetables on the subway with me to Soho, where I was a bartender at Lupa, an Italian restaurant. I would bring those vegetables down to the kitchen, sell them to the chef, head upstairs, change into my apron, hop behind the bar, and serve those vegetables all night to guests. Get home, sleep a few hours, up and at 'em bright and early, back to the farm. And it was not sustainable, is really what we learned. It was an unsustainable amount of work. So we really got creative diversified our revenues and found a way to bring my partner Gwen and I on salary full-time.
And one of the ways you diversified was you started having events, on dinners and eventually, weddings, whatever, people would rent out the place. You had to have several streams of revenue in order to make it work, correct?
That's right. And, it was one of those happy necessities. Sure, it was out of necessity that our events program grew into what it was, but it's also important to remember that we're urban farmers. If we just want to hang out with vegetables all day, we really should be doing that at ground level in the country, because farming on a rooftop is not the most efficient way of producing food. It does, however, offer an opportunity for urban dwellers to really engage with food and farming. And I'll tell you what, not every urbanite is as comfortable with compost and getting their hands dirty as they are maybe with cocktails and canapes and Instagram photos next to the sunflowers.
Right.
So if we can meet people where they live, if we can engage a wider intersection of the community through these different types of events, be it our Monday night yoga or a natural dye workshop, or maybe it is a cocktail party or a rooftop dinner that gets them thinking about how urban space is being used, how their food is being grown. Maybe it makes them a bit more mindful the next time they're purchasing food at the supermarket. Where did this come from? Who grew it? And that's really, really a hugely important part of what we're doing.
You went on to open up a second rooftop, this time in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. Did you always plan to have a number of rooftops involved in your farm?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, we had anticipated expanding to 7 locations in our first 5 years when we first built the farm. Now, I described the install a bit, and it really was a difficult process to build this farm. So what we realized is that 7 farms in 5 years is unrealistic. It's too aggressive an expansion. So we found other ways to keep the business profitable and financially healthy. And that really meant diversifying with the events, but also designing and installing these green roofs, backyard gardens, and other green spaces for
other people.
For other people.
Lending out your expertise,
That's
being
right.
basically consultants
Sure.
on rooftop gardens. So, and basically somebody else, because you got a grant, there are grants for, green roofs. So you didn't have to install the second roof yourself, or did you?
That's right. No, we did not have to install that roof ourselves. We all took a nice long vacation and drank. No, we were hard at work running the business, and the install was a bit later than we anticipated due to some weather that came our way that spring. But that farm was actually installed by a company that was selected by the folks who put the membrane down on that building. They felt that they wanted to control that installation process by having folks they'd worked with before install that green roof. And that was fine with us because we had enough else going on.
Okay.
And often do. So, we will partner with roof installers if need be, although we just completed the installation of Vice Media's green roof and garden, and that was one that we did ourselves and really looks beautiful.
Okay. So how much produce are you producing in a year?
Yeah, it's about 50,000 pounds of produce a year, but that's such a tough metric because think about it, 50,000 pounds of tomatoes, not that many tomatoes, versus 50,000 pounds of salad greens, significant quantity. We produce more out of those rooftops than most people expect. By virtue of the fact that we do turn over our beds very quickly. When one crop is completed its life cycle, we'll get a new crop in there very, very quickly. And that's essential to our business because we have so little space to grow.
And you have what's the size of your staff now?
We have, including my partners and myself, I believe 12 full-time, year-round salaried staff members, and as of 2016, we also have health insurance for the first time.
That's pretty amazing for a business that's, 6 years old, 5 years old?
6 years old.
Wow.
It's a huge, we'll be 6 next month is our 6-year anniversary.
Are you planning a third location at this point?
Always. We want to green as much of this city as possible.
And that's the ultimate goal, I would think.
That's right. That's right. The more space we can cover in farms, the more green jobs we can create. the better the environmental impact to New York City, and the more urbanites we can engage with food and farming.
Okay. Now, what is it that green around the roof does? Does it take in the carbon monoxide? What is it? It does something for the air, right?
It cools the air down, and that's very, very important because of something called urban heat island effect, by which the city absorbs all the sunlight that beats down on it during the day and then emits it at night, so it never really cools down. The other really important feature of green roofs is stormwater management. New York City, like most older cities, has a combined sewer system, so it processes human sewage and rainfall in basically two pipes that run alongside one another. If it rains so heavily that the rainfall pipes are overwhelmed by the flow, the city is forced to merge those two systems and vent what's called combined sewage overflow into our local waterways and bays. This is a huge problem, and one that many, many older cities are facing. New York City has taken a very smart, proactive approach to this problem. Rather than investing the limited funds they have in trying to upgrade the actual infrastructure, they're investing in green infrastructure.
And what does that do for the water overflow?
It basically slows things like green roofs or even trees planted along the sidewalk. Porous concrete is another method that we're using now. Basically creates a giant sponge effect. It holds that rainfall in the system while the city has time to catch up with the flow. So by the time, if you walk during a heavy rain, if you walk down the street, you'll see the drainage pipes coming off buildings, just huge amounts of water coming out of those drainage pipes. If you walk by a building with a green roof, you'll see a controlled trickle, oftentimes that doesn't even start until well after the rain has begun to subside.
Well, it sounds like this is really a learning experience in terms of farming and science and water management and how to run a business and how to how to market yourself.
That's right. That's right. We've learned a lot, and we really hope that we can be a place for other urban dwellers, young or old, to learn about their own city as well, their own food, and really think about how we can make more positive changes. We actually have an educational nonprofit who we partner with on the farm called City Growers. And City Growers has brought 22,000 K through 12 youth up to our roofs for educational visits. That is one of the most rewarding parts of being up on the farm, seeing these kids. I was a New York City public school kid myself. We didn't have field trip budget to go up to rural farms when I was growing up. But these kids, they come up, they see what we're doing up there, they pull a carrot out of the ground for the first time in their lives, and it really is, I think, a revelatory experience for a lot of kids who otherwise don't really have much interaction with nature.
Okay, you see yourself doing this for a while?
I do.
Okay, we're out of time, but I want to thank Anastasia Plakias, Vice President and founding partner of Brooklyn Grange, for joining me. The Farm on the Roof: What Brooklyn Grange Taught Us About Entrepreneurship, Community, and Growing a Sustainable Business has just been published by the Avery imprint of Penguin Random House. For the City University of New York and One to One, I'm Cheryl McCarthy. If there are any people you'd like to hear from or topics you'd like us to explore, please let us know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016, or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you.